Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some stocks on the move today. I'm Tom McKenzie alongside Karen Hepker, of course. We're joined now by Bloomberg reporter Chloe Millet. Chloe, Novo in focus, of course, the drug maker and the maker of weight loss drugs, but not necessarily for good reason. What's going on with this stock?
Yeah, so the US government negotiated a 71% discount on the price of both Ozempic and Wegovy, which of course are two of Novo's blockbuster drugs. So it now prices them at $274 a month for patients on Medicare, which is the health insurance program for the elderly and the disabled in the US. Novo said they actually remained opposed to that government price setting, but it actually seems that investors are not too fazed by the news. They say that this is kind of mostly priced in. This is part of all of the drug pricing negotiations with the pharmaceutical industry that was conducted by the Trump administration, of course, using tariffs, using those regulatory threats to try and reduce the cost of healthcare and boost local manufacturing in the US. And the Trump administration said the new prices would represent $12 billion in savings compared with what Medicare had spent on those same drugs last year. So that's not only Ozempic and Wegovy, but a range of other drugs that are seeing those Medicare cuts. So although it sounds like actually quite a steep price cut, analysts are saying that the impact will actually not be too material for Novo, and that explains the shares shrugging this off mostly for that company.
Okay, so that on Novo Nordisk. Now, analysts are looking at alcohol, tobacco, but cautious on luxury. Is that a Christmas list or is it a stock pick?
Yeah, so Pernod Ricard, which is obviously maker of spirits, it's down this morning after being placed on a negative catalyst watch by JPMorgan analysts. So the analysts said that they were taking quite a cautious approach on the consumer staples sector in Europe as a whole because of higher unemployment and lower consumer confidence that will be probably weighing that sector down in 2026. But within that, they prefer some categories over others. So cigarettes, for example, is better placed. So Imperial Brands, beer, like with companies like Carlsberg, is better placed. But unfortunately for Pernod, it doesn't fit within those categories. It is a higher price point and therefore a bit more exposed to that lower consumer confidence. Just a few weeks ago, it had to cut its outlook because it had a very steep drop in sales and really weak demand across all of its key markets. And it seems that analysts don't believe that it'll be able to get out of that slump anytime soon.
And talking of consumer sentiment, retailer next in focus as well. How much of this is a litmus test, really, as we lead up to the budget at 12:30 today?
Yeah, it's really all about those pre-budget jitters across that UK stock market. So they'll be obviously in focus throughout the day. But for now, we can already see some weakness in the shares of some retailers. That was obviously due to the announcement last night of a hike in the minimum wage. So that has an impact on companies like Next, of course, but also supermarkets, high street chains, pubs, etc. All of those companies that have really large young workforces, and therefore a minimum wage increase represents quite a big hike in costs for them, and we can see that reflected in the shares in Next this morning. The problem with the minimum wage hike, according to economists, is that it's already among the highest globally. Productivity is meanwhile lagging behind other countries, so it creates this imbalance that is quite tough, quite challenging for both workers and employers, and that is weighing down those retailers, those supermarkets this morning. Let's see what we get later in the budget.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.